Hello, Justice Warriors. Welcome to Justice Served Daily. Appreciate you being here. And welcome to everyone. I wanted to share information in regards to this particular case that I ended up stumbling on at the ending of last year. I was looking in at the time of information about times that the Deer Creek had been ever searched or any cleanups that happened. And if you knew and watched any of the Delphi shows that I did referring to that, I had shared back when in August of 2022, when Keegan Klein had changed out of custody from Miami County to the Indiana State Police and went to speak to them, giving them information that caused the search of the Wabash River near the location where him and his father resided in Peru, Indiana. I had shared before that every year there is a cleanup of, Deer Creek and the Wabash River, of things that, on the banks and inside the river to clean up garbage and stuff like that. That happen yearly with volunteers doing stuff such as that. And even a gun that had been found in the water at the time prior to the ending of the Delphi case that had been found during one of those searches. And during that, I ended up finding information about a major search that was done on Deer Creek. And when I looked further into this, Deer Creek was dammed up with logs and everything removed, and people searching with their hands through mud of looking for actually a missing boy, which we're going to get specifics into that. But this massive search that dammed up Deer Creek that happened in Delphi happened in 2019. So, and the obvious reason was that for if there was anything else that had been dumped in the water, could have somebody found something and not realized what they found. So due to that, I ended up finding information about the case that we're going to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and bring that up. And this is about a case of a 4-year-old Owen Lee Jones. He's from Monticello, Indiana. And May 23rd of 2019, there was information, brief little stories in the news about him being in Deer Creek in Delphi. And my assumption at the time was that this little boy had drowned, that they had found him, and that was a massive tragedy and things such as that. And when I started going further and deeper into information about the search that was done in Deer Creek and the damming of Deer Creek to lower water and to actually search it downstream from the Monon High Bridge, is when I found further that Owen Lee Jones had never been found. He still has never been found. And so I found information of him on the Charlie Project, which I'll show you. And I reached out to his mother, Brittany, to just verify the information out there if it was correct. And she did confirm with me that her son has never been found, that she would like if I would cover information about his case, because she would like to be able to put Owen to rest, that it's bothered her that he has never been found. She has no death certificate. It has now been 7 years. I also discussed with her, and also knew because of the news, because at the time that Owen was missing, Lieutenant Dan Dolan had been on the news many a time about Owen. And she did share with me that he was the main detective investigator for Owen on this case. Now, I'm going to show you some maps to give you an idea where this is located. And I'm going to show you information exactly where there is into Delphi, not meaning that this has any connection as far as the Delphi murders whatsoever to Owen Lee Jones. But I'll be able to give you an idea, especially anybody not from, obviously, the States or even from Indiana, to give you a very good idea of how close this is to where Abby and Libby from the Delphi murder case was found. And I have clips of the different news stories that will show you some progression of what was being shared out, or kind of a little bit more importantly, what was not being shared out to the community at the time. So, including things that I've learned, that the phone call to the 911 operators about Owen was a phone call from kids. Now, Brittany was not with her son. There was a young cousin who had taken Owen out with other relatives, and went out to Riley Park. But let me show you some information on this. So please like and subscribe, and please share for we can boost the numbers. I'm not a monetized channel. I only do this and am able to share my stories in cases like this for people who just like and subscribe, and sharing and commenting helps that. When you're not monetized, YouTube does not help you on the algorithm of being picked up from that. But it is important that different cases get the exposure that they need to out there. So for those who have not seen the Delphi case or know about that murder case and are just joining us, this is Indiana. And as I shared, Owen Jones' family is from Monticello, and Delphi is basically only 12 miles away. Takes you maybe 15 minutes to get there. Again, in Carroll County, Indiana. Now, they were located at Riley Park, and I will start in the upper right-hand side of arrows to show you how this all flows. So on the upper right side, you'll see the arrow pointing to the Hoosier Harvest Store building. If you're familiar with the Delphi case, you'll see the CPS buildings up there, the Monon High Bridge Trail where it starts and picks up. And then the bottom right red arrow you see is pointing to the end of the Monon High Bridge. So you can see that the Monon High Bridge goes over Deer Creek. And if we go from the Monon High Bridge and follow Deer Creek southwest, following Deer Creek all the way down, we will get to a star on the bottom left that shows Riley Park. Now you'll see the farthest left red arrow points to CVS. That's where Richard Allen had worked. And also just to note, the lower right arrow, you'll see the Marathon gas station. Again, I'm not pointing this out in any relation to say this has to deal with the Delphi case, but I am pointing it out to give you a rough idea and to show you how close this is. So basically, Deer Creek runs downstream to Riley Park. It goes southwest. So it flows from the Monon High Bridge all the way down to Riley Park. Now, that would be why I was interested at the time to learn and to find out that if you have any of these other little areas that run into Deer Creek, and then we'll further talk about the Wabash, you'll know that the water and stuff is going to flow downstream to where this happened. This is the trail maps, and Riley Park is part of the Delphi Trails. So again, the far right, you see the red arrow pointing to the Monon High Bridge, which shows you the walking path through there. And then you can see then the middle of the page, a red mark also, arrow pointing to Riley Park. You'll see the path for Riley Park goes right along Deer Creek. So you walk across that from Deer Creek. And then it goes all the way down, and in the bottom left-hand red arrow is pointing where Deer Creek and the Wabash River meet. So here's an aerial view. I'll have many more photos from there, as well as a drone video that will show you the flow and how that all runs. But this is an aerial view to show you again. This is Riley Park, and you can see better here, where there's parking and where you can walk up the grassy area and then the walk area. And again, you'll be able to see that much better. Now, most of these videos and stuff of information has commentary and everything, many appearances from Dan Dolan. He was seen many a times in this information about Owen being missing. And on May 23rd of 2019, He was last seen at 6 p.m. wearing a blue t-shirt, which was short sleeve. He had blue shorts on. And so they were not even called out there till 6 p.m. that night. And in these video clips that I'm going to go through, the reason that I included these is because you get a little bit more information, also see where there's some lack of information and what is being told to the community differently as we progress in several of these quick news clips before we get to video of the scene, information of the scene, and that type of thing. So in this, they're already telling others to stay away from the water. And immediately, Dan Dolan is stating that it appears to be an accident and that no families being charged was shared with the news. So let's get started on these real quick.
And we start tonight with breaking news. Indiana conservation officers spent the last few hours searching for a little boy swept away tonight in a creek in Delphi. They have since called off the search for the night, and they haven't found him. It is our top story right now at 10 o'clock. I'm Dan Spieler.
And I'm Beershal May in for Fanch and Stinger. The call came in around 6 o'clock tonight. The scene is near Deer Creek in Riley Park. Fox 59's Courtney Crown, she's there live right now.
Courtney, what's the latest from search crews? What can you tell us?
Well, what I can tell you, Dan, is we did find out that they are just getting the last couple of minutes of search and rescue here. Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Office is still flying their sonar technology out here. They're still using their drones, just trying to make those last-ditch efforts to find this missing 4-year-old boy who did go missing around 6 o'clock this evening. And you can see we're shining the light on that fast-moving river water right now. We're actually on the bridge that goes over Deer Creek, the waterway where that little boy was swept away. Department of Natural Resources, as well as the Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Office and other agencies, they responded right away to a 911 call here. The last measures they've been taking using that sonar technology and flying the drones. But after hours of searching, the outcome appears to be tragic.
Right now, this is a recovery effort. We're going to continue searching the area as long as we can tonight. And when conditions become unsafe for the responders, we're going to close up for the night, and we are going to continue at daylight tomorrow morning.
And I can tell you guys, within just the last couple of seconds, state police have come out of the river here. Lieutenant Dan Dolan says that this does appear to be an accident. The family members will not be charged in this case. By the way, that missing 4-year-old boy was last seen wearing a blue t-shirt and blue shorts. And of course, there's been a lot of community members out here, and everybody just wants to help in this recovery effort. But Dolan says he wants everybody to stay away from that water. It's high and it's moving fast, and it's not safe for even the most experienced swimmers. That search and recovery resumes tomorrow morning at 7:30. Live in Delphi, Courtney Crown, Fox 59 News.
Breaking news from Channel 13 Eyewitness News.
And we start tonight with that breaking news from Delphi this evening. Crews are now searching for a little boy who was swept away in high water.
Yeah, the Department of Natural Resources tells us this happened around 6 o'clock tonight at Riley Park. This is near Prince William Road. Deer Creek runs on the edge of this park.
Tonight, that is exactly where we find our own Alan Carter, who just got to the scene just moments ago. And Alan, what are you learning so far about this little boy?
Well, Scott and Andrea, we can tell you that just within the past hour or so, DNR and crews that have been here on the scene have suspended their search. Right now, they say it's just too dark and too dangerous to have crews in the water here. And let me show you why. It is a little bit dark, but the water is very strong, very powerful, very fast moving here. This is at Deer Creek at Riley Park. They tell me that they are now, unfortunately, classifying this as a recovery operation. 911 called, as you said, around 6 o'clock this evening. There was actually a large group of kids that were playing near and around the water here. From the 4-year-old went in, were told voluntarily walked into the water. This is a popular area where kids play, but because of the rains, they say, that we've seen recently, the water has just been that much more powerful. That child, unfortunately, was seen screaming and crying for help, but was eventually swept away in the waters here. And that's when crews have been out here ever since. This is a multi-department effort here to try to find and do this recovery effort right now. We're told that that 4-year-old, again, was seen struggling in the waters. It was actually the other kids that was with him that called 911. There's been family here throughout the night. At this time, though, authorities are not releasing the name of the boy that is missing. Again, they had to suspend their searches for this evening. We're told they will be back here around 7:30 tomorrow morning to continue this search. Reporting live in Delphi, Alan Carter, Channel 13, Eyewitness News.
We certainly hope that little boy is okay, and our prayers are with his family tonight. Well, despite all the rain that we've gotten this week, Deer Creek is not at flood stage yet. The water, though, still higher and faster than normal. In fact, according to the National Weather Service, it's been around 3 feet over the past week, but the water spiked to 4.2 feet over the last 24 hours. This creek isn't considered to be at flood stage until it hits 11 feet.
Certainly.
So you can see information talked about how much the water had risen because of the day before rain on Wednesday that happened then on Thursday. So it rose more than a foot on that Thursday. Now, this is an update on Friday, and this is the next day, and this will be the DNR again, Lieutenant Dan Dolan, telling people who have been looking that the banks of the rivers is really slick. So he's asking people not to try to search on their own. Again, this is the next day. And let's listen to these.
We have breaking news. In the search for a missing 4-year-old boy in Delphi, police say Owen Jones from Monticello was last seen last night at 6. He was swimming in the creek at Riley Park when the water got too high. Our Meredith Juliet reports the DNR has boats on the water and are using drones to search for him.
Authorities are calling this a tragic accident. They said 4-year-old Owen and some older kids were playing in the creek, and that this creek and this park are popular spots for kids, but that overnight rain made that creek dangerous. They believe that's what caused Owen to be swept away.
Unfortunately, I feel like the kids don't know how to decipher between the swimming hole that was safe yesterday, and then we receive a lot of rain overnight and the current comes up, and we think that they entered the water not knowing the hazards.
They're saying this is now a recovery mission. They have boats on the water and drones in the air, but they say the current is still too strong to put divers into the river. IDNR thanked the community members who have been trying to help, but they say the banks of the river are really slick, and they're asking people not to try and search on their own.
We want to make sure that nobody else falls in and we have another victim. We appreciate their support and their offer. If conditions change where it becomes safer, that's something that we would look into. But right now we're asking for people to just support the family in the search efforts.
Now, IDNR is keeping their eyes on the radar, hoping for a break in the weather so that those divers can get into the water and get to work. In Delphi, Meredith Juliet, Channel 13 Eyewitness News.
You're going to notice a different in-between information that is being shared of initially who's in the water with the little boy. You know, one said he's swimming. He didn't go in the water. He was not swimming in the water. And you'll hear more details that'll talk about that. And even it'll go into like witnesses and when they start to talk about it. So this one is one where it says and brings up, and this is on a Friday report, so the next day, that a witness on Washington Street Bridge, which again, I'm going to show you as well, but you can see in the video that Washington Street Bridge, basically 421, is where a person said he saw a boy on the water, and again asking people to stay out of the water, and the phrase is used and not to interfere with the scene. is used.
News 8, your local news source. This is breaking news.
In that breaking news tonight, the search for a 4-year-old boy swept away in a Delphi Creek will resume this morning.
Just about a half hour ago, the Department of Natural Resources said boats were being pulled in and a drone was going out one last time. Emergency responders were called to Deer Creek near Riley Park around 6 o'clock after a witness on the Washington Street Bridge reported seeing the boy in the water. 2 boats searched the waters for hours, one with DNR, one from the Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Office. Conservation officers are leading what is now being called a recovery mission. Investigators are asking people to stay out of the water and not to interfere with the scene. Scan sonar has been used to search beneath the water, and a helicopter was brought in to search from the air.
So this is on Friday still, on May 24th, and this is where initially it was being told that, they wanted to be careful. Remember how much it stated. The water was up to 4 feet, right? So, up to 3 feet, and had went up. So now it does talk about in this with Dan Dolan is stating here the next day that he believes the water went down a foot, and that would have put it at regular water level.
Rescuers at Deer Creek and Delphi are continuing their recovery search for 4-year-old Owen Jones. He was last seen being swept downstream at Riley Park in Delphi yesterday. News 18's Marvin Bills spent the afternoon in Delphi getting new information. Marvin, what'd you learn today?
Investigators say that this was a misunderstanding for a kid who just wanted to have fun. Divers are on standby to search underwater as soon as conditions clear up. Either way, they'll continue to look for Owen Jones.
We'll be on the creek, whether it's by foot or by small boat or kayak. We're going to continue working until we get to a resolution.
That's what investigators are saying as they continue their recovery search for 4-year-old Owen Jones.
The last time you were out on our area waterways was last August, and the water levels were at recreational levels where you could go out and have a good time.
Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for Jones. According to investigators, the 911 center in Carroll County received a call of an emergency in Deer Creek at Riley Park.
It wouldn't be uncommon to find people wading or swimming in the water here. I feel like it's probably just the kids misunderstood or didn't realize how the conditions today or yesterday were different than what they saw at the last time.
Family and friends with Jones tried to follow him downstream as much as they could. Because of high waters from the recent rain and strong current, he was swept away.
But, any added rain is going to complicate the issue a little bit. We've gone down probably about a foot since yesterday.
People in the community have come together in order to comfort family members through this difficult time.
More than anybody else, they're looking for a quick resolution. They understand the situation that we have.
In Delphi, Marvin Bills, News 18. Rescuers will continue their search until dark today. We will have continuing coverage tonight on News 18 at 10 and 11. Marvin Bills, News 18.
Marvin, thank you very much. We've got a Memorial Day weekend cake.
So this is that night after a full day search with sonar and drones used for that full day.
Just a tough day out here for this family and recovery crews who wrapped up tonight once it got dark. They'll be back out here tomorrow, and they want to find the body of 4-year-old Owen Jones before predicted rain starts, because they say that could make finding him a lot harder. While children played softball at Delphi's Riley Park, their families cheering them on. Just a few hundred yards away, another family waited for their worst fears to be realized.
They obviously know that it's a tragic situation. The outcome is not going to be good.
The family of 4-year-old Owen Jones waited Friday for emergency crews to recover the little boy's body from Deer Creek. Jones was with a group of older children, some relatives, when he went into the creek Thursday afternoon and began to struggle and was swept downstream.
We're still running the sonar. We're checking every possible area that he could be at this point.
Emergency crews said the current was too fast and unsafe to put divers in the water. Instead, they used 3 boats, more than 20 people, and drones in the air. Still, though, no sign of little Owen Jones. Emergency crews will be back out here at 7:30 tomorrow morning. They hope to be on the water in boats by 8 o'clock. They are hoping to find the little body of Owen before that predicted rain starts to fall, because they say that will make the current faster and delay divers being able to get into that water. In Delphi, Emily Longnecker, Channel 13 Eyewitness News.
So here's Saturday. Again, it talks about witnesses, and we even get further where they say and make a comment that a boy, which they believe was Owen, and another person were in the water, which when we get further in this videos, you'll talk about that being recognized. So they're still trying to get information from people of who saw what and what they witnessed. But here's Saturday's video.
And rescuers in Delphi today continuing their hunt for Owen Jones of the Monticello area. He's the 4-year-old boy who's been missing since Thursday when a witness saw him being swept down Deer Creek. Officials say water levels have dropped slightly in the rain-swollen creek, giving them better access. Right now, they're using sonar, boats, and drones to try to find that little boy. Authorities say he'd been playing in Delphi's Riley Park, through which that creek flows.
So we had Thursday that evening. We had Friday all day, which Friday, Lieutenant Dan Dolan said the water dropped about a foot, which is about 1.25 feet, which it had went up from the rain before that you saw in the first news report. And then you have Saturday. Now, they used the drones. They used sonar. They had the boats in the water. Now we're at 5 days later. So we're on Monday. And now the family is holding a prayer vigil, and you'll recognize the Carroll County Courthouse, that they're trying to do this prayer vigil on that Monday while the search is being done as well.
Creek on Thursday. It's now been 5 days since Owen Jones was last seen. News 18's Marvin Bills is in Delphi where the vigil is happening. Marvin, can you tell us what's going on?
Family and friends are gathered here in Delphi at the Carroll County Courthouse just around a corner to hold a prayer vigil for 4-year-old Owen Jones. Now, News 18 has covered this story extensively, and we were on the scene last Thursday as Indiana conservation officers searched for Jones. At this time, we still do not know what caused the boy to fall into Deer Creek, but we do know Delphi received a rainstorm Wednesday night that made creek conditions dangerous. There were fast-moving currents and high water that made it difficult for investigators to search for the boy as well. Now, when we arrived here just about 30 minutes before the top of the 5, there were about 20 to 25 people already gathered, friends and family, and I assume that there are people arriving, as I've just seen a few people park their cars and get out of the car. Now, out of respect for the family as they deal with this difficult time, you cannot see them behind me right now, but I can tell you that they are around the corner holding a prayer vigil for 4-year-old Owen Jones. Coming up on News 18 at 6, we will bring you any latest details that we have. Reporting live in Delphi, Marvin Bills, News 18.
Thank you very much, Marvin. Starting tomorrow, NDOT will also begin a $9.4 million
So now we jump to Friday, May 31st. So remember how far out we are. But now, as this last day in May, there are 2 cadaver dogs and a helicopter added to search. This is supposed to be the big push for him to be able to find Owen Jones. Now, the 1 cadaver dog is being used on the water in a boat, and 1 cadaver dog is going downstream. I'm assuming down the path of that. And it doesn't go in specifics that it was how far that cadaver dog was taken down. I bring that up for a reason because the parents, the mom, wanted cadaver dogs to be used, far down to be able to check if that could have been helped to find Owen at the time. And let's go through this update here. Again, I'll point out, and you'll have video of it, that bridge behind her is the Washington Street Bridge of 421. So the reason that you keep seeing people standing here is because, and you'll see when I show you pictures of where this is from the gazebo at Riley Park, you can walk down off of the sidewalk and go into the water right there. And that is where that Owen would have went into the water. Now, in the last video you heard, there was a comment saying they didn't know how he fell in the water. Well, that's a little different than other reports that we've kind of heard before. But let's listen to the report. So this is showing you where the kids had been playing before, meaning the other day they were playing all before in it, where he was at the time, and where it said that he would have went into the water. The other reason that bridge is also shown is, remember that the person who stated that there was some person, a man, who said he did see a boy in the water, said he saw it while he was on Washington Street Bridge, that he witnessed that. Well, this would be the bridge he would be standing on, which again, that's Washington Street, aka 421, where that goes over. So,
top story, investigators are taking advantage of today's nice weather to do a big push in the search for 4-year-old Owen Jones. We go live to News 18's Anna Darling, who is at Deer Creek, with the latest investigators are doing to bring closure to the family. Anna.
Trevor, as you can see behind me, the river is high and moving fast, but investigators are pulling out all the stops today. They have resources from Tippecanoe County, Carroll County, Lafayette, Indiana State Police, all in on the search looking for Owen. They're utilizing drones, they're using divers, boats, and today they're adding dogs and helicopters to that mix. Now, Lieutenant Dan Doolin said that water levels were going down and they were really hopeful in making a break in the case today. But heavy rain last night put a bit of a damper on those hopes as water levels went back up. But they have extra help today, including 2 cadaver dogs. One is searching on land and the other on the water. They also have a helicopter from ISP scanning the river from the air. Lieutenant Doolin says they will be able to cover all areas they haven't been able to closely examine yet today, thanks to this additional help. As News 18 previously reported, Owen Jones was swept away in the strong currents of Deer Creek last Thursday. Now, Lieutenant Doolin says if they are unable to find Owen today, that means they may have exhausted all of their resources for searching on the surface of the water, and they may have to wait for water levels to come back down before they are able to find anything. Live from Delphi, Anna Darling, News 18.
Now, remember, they also finally said that they did have scuba divers that also were in part of this. So before, we've had sonar, we've had the drones, we've had boats on there, they've had now the cadaver dogs, and they have all these other units and stuff in there. They were not using early on the divers because they said the water was too fast. If you look at the water here, that water's flowing way faster than it was before. But now with everybody out there, they are using everything for this particular search. So this is a report for Saturday, June 1st, of Lieutenant Dan Doolin speaking on the Friday, May 31st search that was done.
To find the body of 4-year-old Owen Jones. News 18's Anna Darling spent today in Delphi. She has more on the big push investigators hoped would bring results.
On Friday, no resource was spared in the search for Owen Jones. Airboats, drones, cadaver search dogs, and a helicopter from the Indiana State Police.
In hopes of bringing closure to Owen's family.
Owen Jones was swept away in the strong currents of Deer Creek last Thursday. Lieutenant Dan Doolin with the Indiana Department of Natural Resources says they had high hopes for this big push because of good weather.
Water was really falling yesterday. We thought we were in a pretty good spot for this to be the best opportunity for lower water. And then obviously last night we got a lot more rain.
But they aren't letting the turn of weather events put a damper on their hope. The extra eyes are helping in a big way.
And we're hopeful that the extra resources that have stepped up today will let us see some areas that we haven't been able to focus on yet.
Lieutenant Doolin says if they don't find anything today, then that means they may have exhausted all of their search efforts at the surface level, and they may have to wait for water levels to go down before they find anything. A drone team from the Lafayette Fire Department used the drone to zoom in on debris and use thermal imaging. And one cadaver dog searched on land and the other searched on water, looking in every nook and cranny.
We're checking all of the strainers or log jams on Deer Creek and the Wabash River for several miles. It's our goal, obviously, to bring quick resolution to the family.
Anna Darling, News 18.
Well, so far, we have no word if they have found Owen's body. While Lieutenant Doolin said the surface level searching may be ineffective at this point, he said that doesn't mean the search is over. Well, Carol.
So I do want to point out, I don't know if I mentioned this, so I apologize if I'm stating something. If you are recognizing the name Lieutenant Dan Doolin and him being a conservation officer, you would recognize him from the Delphi case with Abby and Libby. And he was at the first press conference that was done for Abby and Libby. And he was the person who, when Richard Allen made a phone call to the police station about stating that he was out at the Monon High Bridge, which was requested that anybody out there who had at all been out there, no matter what time of day, you were asked to contact the police. So he contacted the police, and they had somebody who was going to be in contact with him. Don't know what information he directly told them in the initial call, but then Dan Doolin called back to Richard Allen and asked if Richard Allen wanted to come into the police station, meet him at the police station to talk. And Richard Allen did not want to do that. He asked Richard Allen if he wanted to, for him to go to his house to talk to him. And Richard Allen did not want him to do that. So he asked Dan Doolin to meet him at the Save-A-Lot, not where he worked, at CVS, not at home, and not at the police station, but in the parking lot of a Save-A-Lot. So that is the same Dan Doolin. And at this time, if you want to think about what was happening with the Delphi case, at this time, remember that in 2019, this is when the famous press conference happened that we have Superintendent Doug Carter, who states about them going in a different direction, talks about an additional image that they're showing, another sketch, basically the point of view from another witness who found the person to be younger rather than an older person. And also that they were inquiring about vehicles that were parked at the CPS building. And they wanted to find out who was parked there. This was released in 2019's press conference prior to this going on. That was huge news. So, where a lot of people may not have paid attention to these very brief little updates about Owen Jones. So now we're out 1 month later on June 18th of 2019. And this is Brittany speaking to the news as well.
Tonight, the search continues for 4-year-old Owen Jones, who disappeared after falling into a creek in Delphi. This week marks 1 month since it happened. News 8's Demi Johnson spoke with his mother at Deer Creek today.
He should be here, and he's not.
Brittany Jones doesn't like taking this path as much as she once did.
Supposed to have a fun day at the park, just like any other normal family.
Riley Park was once a happy place filled with fun family memories. Now Jones says it has a certain darkness to it.
It's really overwhelming knowing that he's somewhere and we just don't know where he is.
According to investigators, the 4-year-old was playing with family and friends by the water when he fell in. That was on May 23rd. DNR crews have been on the water nearly every day since.
Trying to stay helpful because that's what all mothers would do. But it's kind of hard when time keeps going by and there's nothing.
The worst thing any parent could go through, that's for sure.
Ethan Brown lives nearby and has kept a close eye on the status of the search. He says he thinks about the Jones family every day.
I have no clue how they survive each day. I mean, just breathing in and out, trying to get through the day. Just can't imagine what they're going through.
But Jones says people like Brown help her keep going.
I get messages from tons of people every single day, people I don't even know from like different states.
It's the kind of noise she needs in a house that's just a little quieter than it used to be.
He always came up to me and, the Mommy, you're beautiful, and then he'd run away and play again.
She misses that. And as the search for Owen continues, those are the memories she holds on to. In Delphi, Demi Johnson, Wish TV News 8.
Well, divers from the Department of Natural Resources swam the creek about a week and a half ago, checking log jams. The search extends from Americus to anywhere on Deer Creek that they can get to by boat.
So we are up to where now Owens would be turning 5 years old. He turned 5 on the 12th of June, would have turned 5 on the 12th of June. And they do talk about the scuba divers who were searching log jams specifically, because again, we're more than a month out from this.
This week marks 1 month since 4-year-old Owen Jones disappeared after falling into a creek in Delphi.
DNR crews continued to search for him in Deer Creek. News 8's Demi Johnson spoke to the boy's mom about her search for closure.
Owen's mother, Brittany Jones, tells me when she stands by this creek, she's reminded of the last time she saw her son. According to investigators, the 4-year-old was playing with family and friends by the water when he fell in. That was on May 23rd. Department of Natural Resources Lieutenant Dan Doolin says crews have been on the creek nearly every day since. Doolin says they've held back on searches a few times because of the large amount of rain we've seen this summer. Jones says she's trying to remain hopeful.
Trying to stay hopeful because that's what all mothers would do. But it's kind of hard when time keeps going by and there's nothing.
She says it's been a tough few weeks, especially because Owen's 5th birthday was on June 12th. Lieutenant Doolin says scuba divers swam the creek about a week and a half ago checking for log jams. The search extends from Americus up to anywhere on Deer Creek they can get to with a boat. In Delphi, Demi Johnson, Wish TV News 8.
So again, they keep talking about the search up to Americus, which we're going to show you on a map. Now, this was an update that on Friday, August 23rd of 2019, there was a temporary dam, and this is the one I was telling you about, that was built in Deer Creek in Delphi for them to search. And they had, again, Delphi, Carroll County, other counties out to try to get a closer look at log jams in the search for him. And it had them digging with their hands to try to find him, thinking that he's caught in there. So again, this is 3 months later, looking for him. This will talk about the dam. The difference in this report 3 months later, that's included with the news, is now DNR is asking in this manner, if you know anything about this, give them a call.
New tonight at 11 o'clock, crews are still searching for the body of 4-year-old Owen Jones more than 3 months after he got swept away in high water in Delphi. Last Friday, multiple agencies worked together to hopefully find him, but they had no luck. They used cranes and even set up a temporary dam to lower the water levels in Deer Creek. And then workers began removing logs, even searching the mud by hand, looking for any sign of the little boy. DNR officers have also been wading through the water there. They believe his body could be trapped under an obstruction in Deer Creek or possibly made it to the Wabash River. The boy's family is now trying to get cadaver dogs to search that area as well. In the meantime, DNR is asking if you know anything about this, please give them a call.
So you can see here they had all of these cranes moving giant logs, dropped the water now to do this search 3 months later, but now they're asking people if you know anything. So they're also bringing up the chance that if his body would have moved all the way through Deer Creek, not caught up in anything, and got out the Wabash River. So now we're at 1 year missing in May of 2020. Still not found. So in this information, and this is from a WRTV news report, again, witness reported seeing a child and at least one other person playing near the edge of the creek. Okay. So they go into, talking about to everybody, about Owen Jones and that he went missing and that DNR wants to remind everybody to be safe on the water because it's coming up this Memorial Weekend. But then comments that Owen was swept away in the flooded creek on the evening of May 23rd while playing at Delphi's Riley Park with family and friends. Witnesses reported seeing a child and at least one other person playing near the edge of the creek, near the old dam, which, good Lord, they misspelled the and dam, but whatever. But they got dam right, never. Just upstream from US 421 bridge. So they don't know how he fell in the water. He was playing in the water. One said he was swimming. He went in swimming. So this Memorial Day weekend, conservation officers are asking anyone who's boating, fishing, hiking along Deer Creek or along the Wabash River to be observant for signs of Owen. So in this, it says that the conservation officers believe Owen removed his shoes, which were found nearby, and went to wade in the water. Well, this report just said two different things. One said somebody said that he's with somebody else and they were playing near the edge of the water. Now this is the same news, same story. But now it's reporting he didn't have his shoes on. His shoes were taken off. They're found nearby. They think he took them off. and they went to wade in the water, which would normally be shallow, but had risen from heavy rain the day before, right? On that Wednesday night. Now, witnesses say Owen being swept downstream before he disappeared below the surface of the water. Okay, well, we saw the other report that said somebody heard him yelling and screaming for help. 1 year later, his body has still not been recovered. So the Memorial Day weekend, conservation officers are asking anyone boating, fishing, hiking along Deer Creek or along Wabash River to be observant for the signs of Owen. He was last seen wearing a blue sleeveless shirt with a red and white star on the front. And if you spot these or similar items of clothing or any suspected human's remains, please contact your local law enforcement agency or Indiana conservation officers at 812-837-9536. This is 1 year later. Now we're commenting, hey, if you're out there and you see remains or these clothing around Deer Creek or maybe even the Wabash, contact us. This is the Charlie Project that I told you when I first realized that Owen had still not been found, that when I went to go look first, that where I found him. And this talks about the date that he was last seen. Owen is white, 4 years old. He was 3 foot 8 inches, 51 pounds. Again, wearing that blue sleeveless shirt with a red star and a white star on the front. This says, also his, it says blue shoes. That's not right. We know he didn't have shoes on. It would have been blue shorts, shouldn't have been shoes. And he has brown hair and hazel eyes. This is what it shows as listed. When he was last seen playing with other children near the edge of Deer Creek, upstream of US 421. And then it talked about then Owen fell in and was struggling in the water before he was swept away. So after talking about the search, as you can see, it does acknowledge that in the water turned up no sign of Owen, though his shoes were left behind at the scene of his disappearance. He is presumed drowned, though his body was never found. Now, as you can see, the investigation agency is the Carroll County Coroner's Office, and it has a phone number of 812-837-9536. Now, what is the Charlie Project? It is an online database. It is dedicated to cold cases of missing people in the United States, and it helps to serve as a location of information that requires, you have to be more than a year, and they put information and details in it. The other location that Owen is listed is on Namus. And when you click on this information, again, it's showing the same things. It is showing a current age of 11 if he was still alive. And the second part of this talks about where he was playing and talking about the flooding, struggling in the water. And it says he was witnessed him going under the water and not resurfacing. And then it talks about his blue sleeveless shirt with a red and white star in the front and blue shorts. Now, NamUs, as many of you may have known, on some of our missing persons case or actual NamUs unidentified people, if you have a missing relative, it is encouraged for people to turn in DNA to NamUs, and then NamUs itself helps in forensic services for DNA and that to help identify records. So that database is used for missing persons or unidentified remains. And you can get in by going to a coroner even and turning in your DNA that can be entered into the system so that if there is an unidentified anywhere in the country, they're able to use the database to help identify against the missing persons records. Now, this is the view standing at Riley Park Trail walkway. This is looking at Deer Creek, looking the southwest direction under the 421 Washington Street Bridge right there. So as you can see, this sidewalk is the walking path. And then there's some stairs right here. You can step down and people will go into the water here and wade into the water right there. Well, if you look at, how tall Owen is, and then with the water, you're talking about only a foot difference, and you're going to, maybe lose your balance because of how the water's flowing. Now, this is looking the upstream direction, for you can see what is to the right of there. So if you're looking at the trail northeast on up Deer Creek, this is directly looking across Deer Creek. Now, there is no walking path on that side over there. You have to walk on this sidewalk over here to walk it. Now, this is looking directly at the walking path itself. And again, straight towards the 421 Washington Street Bridge. So you can walk this way. And when you walk this way on the sidewalk, on the walking path, you go underneath that bridge. Again, this is looking directly down there and at the stairs that go down. And you could see that one reporter was sitting down there as well, right there on the edge. Now, when you go into Riley Park, this is the gazebo that is at Riley Park. And there's a little bridge walkway over here. But as you walk towards the gazebo, so up the stairs here, or I'm sorry, up the walking path. So there is, this is the ramp for like wheelchairs to go on it, or I guess if you just want to walk up it. This is where you can walk up into the gazebo. And this is how you can see, or what you see from the ramp itself of the gazebo looking at Deer Creek. And this is if you stand right there inside the gazebo, but still right at the top of the ramp of you going inside the gazebo for you to be able to look down at Deer Creek. Now, this video is going to show the water, the spread of the width of Deer Creek. It is going upstream a view, not downstream. And I'm going to stop it when you'll see when it gets up to Riley Park, because you'll see the gazebo to your right and you'll see the walkway. So it's going to show us going upstream. I want to thank Indie Archive for letting me use this video. Go check out his channel and his videos. He's had great videos that he has done of views of Delphi, of the Monon High Bridge, of all sorts of things. But he had something of Riley Park, which he has allowed me and given me permission to show you guys. So let me show you this. Now, he had music of You Are My Sunshine. Since I don't have the rights to that, I'm not playing that. I guess I could sing it to you if you wanted to. But anyway, I thought this was really good video to show, just like when you talk about over near the Monon High Bridge, you can see the spots that are more shallow than others or deep as it's going up. And when we're done looking at this video, I'm going to show you a map, because again, this is just Deer Creek. Again, you look how shallow this stuff is. The water's sitting still in this part of it. As we go up farther, you'll be able to very easily tell when we get to the bridge that's 421, aka Washington Street, and Riley Park. Now look at all that grown area. Look how it narrows, how it curves. So as you can see here, this is the bridge that a witness said he saw a boy in the water struggling. Now we're going over that. You can see that's where cars go over. And if you look to the right, you see that gazebo that I was showing you the view from. And again, this is going upstream, not downstream. So where we just viewed is actually seeing where Owen would have had to, his body would have had to maneuver all through that Deer Creek area of different levels of high, low, whatever of the water. And, basically log jams and things like that, that they cleared up, that they believed at the time his body was caught in. But yet they didn't find it. They didn't find him. Again, they had helicopters, sonar, which goes into the water, from the boat. And cadaver dogs, divers, the log jam. So again, this is me using that map, showing you where Riley Park was, right? So Riley Park is going to show you basically where the gazebo is. And then here's where we're going under the 421 bridge. And this is going down Deer Creek. So again, looking at where Riley Park is, Another view. There's Washington Street Bridge 421. And we're going to go down. This river's going to go down to where Trailhead Park is, right? It's going to pass this Trailhead Park on the lower left-hand corner. There's a star. And then you see Sunset Point. And this is where Wabash River and Deer Creek meet. So this is to kind of give a distance. It's not based on the actual flow of the river and going that. It's just directly, as a crow flies. But basically from Riley Park till the end of where Wabash River would end up meeting up with, it's approximately about 1 1/3 mile away from there. Now, again, the middle school, all that Richard Allen stuff is in here. All of that stuff is in here, again, to give you an idea, because I know you've looked at the Delphi case and where everything is. Now, I won't say it doesn't concern me that a lot of these stars over here near the neighborhoods farther down Deer Creek had a lot of arrests for CSAM that happened. I'm just gonna, bring that up. Now, this is showing the distance from when they said they would go wherever a boat would allow them to go. And this is from Riley Park to the Americas. Now, again, this is not flowing directly with the river here, with the Wabash River. How that flows. But going down to Americas, that distance would be 6.19 miles. So technically, longer than that as far as going to, but you're talking about where they stated that they went all the way down to looking. And again, a bunch of these stars up here near the Riley Park is where there were people who were arrested for CSAM. That's what those represent. Now, after the year search, they talk about them not finding him. I mentioned to you they do not have a death certificate, but after the year search, basically, they ended up doing a obituary in celebration of life for the family. And they did this on June 13th of 2020. And this was a year later. And as you can acknowledge in here, you can see that they thank the Lieutenant Dan Dolan of DNR, 911 dispatch, and people who helped go look for Owens. So when you talk about the downflow of Deer Creek and it flowing down to Riley Park. And now you're talking about Riley Park and Deer Creek merging with the Wabash River. So on the state map over here to the left, you can see the star I put, that's on Carroll County. This shows all the lakes and rivers and water resources on it, okay? And then it does have the Wabash River right here. This is where it merges after Carroll County, meaning Delphi. Here's where the Wabash River. And then once you get to the Wabash River, you're going basically all the way down the far west side of Indiana, as you can see here on the right side map. So Owen's mom, Brittany, did tell me that once they had a phone call and they thought that there was some remains in Lafayette, but it turned out to not be Owen. And but other than that, there hasn't been anything. So if you look at where here, where you've got Deer Creek then flowing into the Wabash River, so right here, starts merging the Wabash River, you go past Lafayette, go all the way down. Well, now you're hitting on the border of the state of Illinois. And when you get farther down, there is water that's also the downflow, right? It comes downstream, also meeting up with the Wabash River itself. And it goes all the way down basically to Evansville. It's going, past and merging with, Indiana. So you've got flow of water that basically ends up meeting up from water from Illinois, and then you've even got water from Ohio that comes over as well, but southern part of Indiana. So here we go for May 23rd of 2019. 4-year-old Owen Lee Jones' remains, clothing, nothing has been found. We know that in a year amount of time, it was kind of mentioned on a television station to talk about, hey, while you're out for Memorial Day, if you see remains, call the conservation officers, or if you see clothing that represents him. Again, a blue sleeveless shirt, white and red star, blue shorts. Wouldn't find shoes because they were left there. And as it is listed in the sites that I shared with you, the investigating agency now is considered the Carroll County Coroner's Office and the Indiana Conservation Officers. So you've got the phone number 812-837-9356. This little boy has not been seen or found. And his family wants to be able to have closure from this. And remember, as I shared, this has been 7 years later. This little boy's family still has no answers 7 years later. So please, thank you for watching. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Please comment to me, what are your thoughts about this case? And please help share it so that other people know that this little boy was never found, that his remains and everything are still possibly out there along Deer Creek, along the Wabash River, and help us get answers for Brittany and her family, and Owen and Owen's siblings, to give closure and answers to this missing little boy. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for making sure justice is served daily. Bye, everybody.